Today I'm going to walk you through how to do an engine coolant flush. This will be for a 2010 Ford Fusion, but it should be fairly generic to most vehicles. However, there are a couple of things specific to the Fusion that I will walk through. I've already done the flush, so I'm really just going to walk you through it because really it's a lot of just sort of standing around and waiting, so to save everybody time, I will just show you the finer points of how to do it. The first thing you need to get is the supplies. I would get some distilled water, so make sure it's distilled, that way there's no contaminants and things like that in the water when you do the flush. That's only about $1 a gallon. Then get the antifreeze / coolant, and in my case I decided to get the 50/50, which I think is probably the better option. You don't have to worry about mixing. You are paying a little bit for water, but a little bit less trouble. Now the important thing on the coolant is to make sure you get the right one. You could get, in my case, the Motorcraft or whatever it is for your particular car, but if you don't want to do that, make sure you get one that is for your car. So on the front here, Ford, Chrysler, Mercedes-Benz, HD, diesel. However, look beyond that. So Ford, so that's good, but on the back there's also additional cars or additional details. So Ford passenger cars 2004 to 2011. So just because it says Ford in the front or whatever car you have, make sure that it's actually going to be for your car. So obviously mine's a 2010, so it fits within that range. And these are, I guess I got this on sale at AutoZone, so that's probably why I bought it over the Motorcraft version. Then you can also get this flush as well, radiator flush. Not necessary, but probably a good idea, and it's only like $7 or $8. So next I'm going to show you, I've written down the steps, so I'll put that on there so that you can take a picture of it or write it down. So here are the steps. I'll just leave this on the screen for a minute or a little bit so you can take note of it. But basically, with the engine warm, just slowly open up the tank. Doesn't have to be overly hot. Then when the pressure's all gone, remove it, the cap. Open the drain, let it all out. Then you're going to put the end of the hose, so just your garden hose, turn it on, and then with the heat on and the engine running, just let that water cycle through there, cleaning things out. Then you're going to close the drain that you had opened up earlier, fill with distilled water, and then this flush chemical. So then you're going to let the engine run, and also leave the heat on. Try to get the engine up to about 2,500 RPMs for maybe 5-10 minutes. Then you're going to do steps 3 and 4 again. Open the drain, let it out, flush the car, then add the coolant, which is the stuff that you bought, with the heat on, and then once it's filled, again run that engine at 2,500 RPM, and this is maybe more specific to Ford. And then there's a bleed valve that you can open and close, and then drive around and recheck the fluid. So now I'll give you the finer steps, actually showing you in the car. Okay, here's the Ford Fusion, and here are the particulars to this car, which is not going to be every single car, but the degas tank is over here. This is what you're going to open and fill and use to flush out the system. And down on the driver's side in the bottom is that red drain, and to get to that, best thing to do is to remove three screws to get to the splash guard up. You don't have to take everything off, just 3 of them will do. And the red is the drain, so it should be on there just beyond finger tight. So I would take a pair of pliers and gently turn it, or you can get a flathead screwdriver and just turn it. It won't come off, it'll just keep unscrewing that way. So once it starts coming out, that's pretty much it. And that little drain there is where you can put a hose on there and catch all the coolant as it comes out. Then when you go back to tighten it up again, just use pliers or flathead screwdriver and do it on there just beyond finger tight. It's not, it doesn't need to be wrenched too much. And then you just put your screws back onto the splash guard. Up here, more specific again to the Ford Fusion, there is a bleeder valve, and it's right here. And this bleeder valve turns a quarter turn, so just a flathead screwdriver, just quarter turn towards the front of the car. So don't overdo it; it'll stop. But if you do it too hard, it will break, and that'll be a problem. So this is sort of right here within the engine, and that's in that step step 11 when you're filling it and running it. This is what you will open and close the bleeder valve. So at least for this car, once it's filled, you're going to run the engine at 2,500 RPM for about 10 minutes with the heat on, and you're going to open and close the bleed valve. I would do that about every 2 minutes. So while it's running, come over here, open it, let it stay open for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, close it. Still it's going at 2,500 RPM. Then another 2 minutes later, open it, let it stay open for 10, 20 seconds, close it. Just repeat that. So you'll do that about 5 times. And to get the car at 2,500 RPM there at the end of those directions, I would put a stick on the seat and then on the accelerator, and you'll just have to move the seat back and forth to get to that 2,500 RPM. It's a little bit sensitive. It's not easy to do, but you'll be able to get to it. So using all these directions with the bleed valve, you should get the air out of the system. And then I would drive around, drive around the block a few times with the heat on. Make sure you come to a stop at a red light, stop sign. Make sure the heat is still blowing. And of course, recheck the fluid, maybe a day later, a couple days later, just to make sure that you have the right amount of fluid in there. One way to know that there's air in the system is when you are driving, you come to a stop at a stop sign or a red light. If the heat stops blowing and it's just cold air coming out, that means you have air in the system. So come back over and just, again, run the car, have the fluid or have the air come out of here. And fluid can come out of here, so if fluid comes out, then there's no air in the system, you're all good. But that's one symptom of not having having air in the system, is if the blow is cold when it should be blowing hot. So it's really basic steps, a lot of waiting around as you run the hose through here. So this is on that step 4 where you're running the hose through here. So again, it's literally just take that off, have the hose in here with the car running, and it'll all be shooting out of the drain down there, cleaning that whole system out of there. And that's really all there is to it. It takes you probably about an hour, again, of just waiting around and make. One other thing I was going to show was if you wanted to change the thermostat, it's right in here. I didn't change it because there wasn't any problem, but if as part of that, that's where the thermostat is. So you got the 2 hoses and probably 3 bolts. I see 2 up here, so there's probably one down there. I don't know if it's easy or difficult. Probably once you get those out of the way, probably not too bad. So anyway, thermostat is there in case you need it.